Hey guys, this is a different video for me, I guess. Um, I was just doing a bunch of research today about Princess Diana and her death and how some say that she was murdered and the inquests and everything. I just wondering what you guys your thoughts on what happened to her on August 31st, 1997. I know from what I've read, uh, her and Dodi Al-Fayed, who was her, I guess, her boyfriend uh, during that summer of 1997. They vacations on Dodi's father, Muhammad Al-Fayed, the Jonical, I believe was the name of the boat. They spent the summer in St. Tropez, all those areas, and their nights. They made it to Paris, and he got her a ring. He had it picked up, very expensive, probably a multi-million-dollar ring. And some say, like his father and all them, they say that it was going to be an engagement ring, that they were going to get married. But from all the accounts that I've read, Diana had no intentions on marrying Dodi Al-Fayed. In fact, a few months before, she was with a heart surgeon, Osnat Khan, I believe is his name. She was very much in love with him and wanted to be with him, but I think he was like most people. He did not want to be caught up in her lifestyle. He didn't want to be, in the spotlight all the time. He was a very kind of a quiet person. So there's so many outrageous claims about her and Dodi. They said she was pregnant at the time that she died with Dodi, with the driver Henry Paul, Trevor Reese Jones, the passenger in the front seat. He survived, but Diana and Dodi were in the back seat. See, they say that the driver Henry Paul, he was the head of security for the the Al-Fayed family, I guess you could say. And that night he was seen in the bar drinking, but nobody knew, or they could confirm. They never said that he was drinking alcohol. They said they seen him having a few drinks. They assumed, since he was on duty, that he wasn't consuming alcohol of any sort. But then he was taunting the paparazzi. They were there at the Ritz Hotel. They were going to go to Dodi's apartment. And it was a very short distance, I guess. It wasn't very far. And I believe that Dodi had a conversation with his father on the telephone right before they left. And he told them, the paparazzi are just there. They're just doing their job. They're taking photographs. They're allowed to do that. I believe. I don't know nothing about, catching celebrities in the act or whatever. I don't believe it's illegal to take a photograph. So Henry Paul was taunting the paparazzi outside the Ritz. He said, "Yeah, they'll be down in a little minute. You'll see them." But all along they planned on a sideways get out of the building. But the paparazzi, they kind of knew that they're not just gonna walk out the front door. It's Princess Diana, like in Dodi Al-Fayed, one of the richest people on the planet. So there's a lot of pictures taken of Princess Diana and Dodi and their bodyguard Trevor Reese Jones getting into the car that she was the Mercedes Benz. Henry Paul was to be the driver, and that was unusual for him to be a choice to be the driver, because he normally did not do that. He was acting head of security, but he was not a chauffeur. I can't remember Dodi's official chauffeur's name. I think Kip something, I believe was his name, but I believe he took the car in the front that was believed to have been Dodie and Diana in it. He took that one in the front. Kes Winfield, that's his name, I believe. Um, I'm sorry for naming names here. I'm not implicating nothing. This is just my thoughts about Princess Diana's death and, that night, August 31st, 1997. Which really, her last day alive was August 30th because she died, at 12:30 a.m. August 31st, 1997. So she never seen the light of day of August 31st, 1997. So that was the plan. Their getaway car was they were going to leave the side of the Ritz and they were going to go to their apartment. And there was paparazzi there taking pictures. There's lots of pictures of her and Dodie getting into the limousine, their car, and there's pictures of them looking around and just whatnot. And I guess Dodie, he's step on it. Let's get there. Let's leave these paparazzi behind. And I totally understand his feelings. He didn't want to have the paparazzi around, snapping pictures. He just wanted to go he wanted his night alone. Some say he was going to propose to Diana, but Diana was telling friends that she was definitely not going to be married, and if she was going to be married, it would have been to the heart surgeon months before, before they had split up. She only had maybe 23, 24 days with Dodie Al-Fayed. So they say that Diana was pregnant, but her best friend said that she had her thing while vacation, like in St. Tropez or whatever. Those at Paris and Greece, all this. I'm not sure. I don't know my geography very well. So the autopsy shows that she did not have, her womb was, she had no baby in there, and I believe they tested her urine or whatever for that stuff they can detect if you're pregnant or not. So anyhow, that's a lie they can put. She was not pregnant with Dodie's child. Dodie actually was set to marry another woman, and when Diana came along, she vacationed there with her kids first. She was invited, so she brought Prince William and Prince Harry with her, and then after that it was just her, and then her sons went with their father, I believe, to Balmoral up in Scotland for 3 or 4 weeks. So Diana was in the process. She was going to see her sons that day, August 31st. She was done, like vacationing, doing what she was doing, and she was happy to be back with her kids because Prince Harry was turning 13, I believe it was, in a few days. So, to go back to that night, Henry Paul, who was later revealed in his blood, and they say they tampered with it, they did this, they did that. I don't know what they did or what they didn't do, but his blood sample showed that he was 3 times over the alcohol limit for France. In actuality, he was taking an antidepressant drug, and I believe he was taking another drug for alcohol addiction. I think it was called, when I read a book, I think it was called Rohypnol or something, or maybe now it's a different name, but I believe in the book I read it was that, or I can't, Terradil, don't quote me on that please, I'm not quite sure, but friends say that he was really despondent over a recent breakup with his girlfriend and her child, and he felt like he was a father figure, and some felt he was very depressed, so he was drinking a lot. But some of his close co-workers say that they swore that he was not consuming any alcohol that night in the bar. But I mean, just later on, have him taunting the paparazzi like that out the front, kind of just saying this, saying that type thing, kind of gives you the impression that he didn't care what he was doing. Most people, when you drink alcohol, you don't care what you're doing. So Henry Paul was chosen to drive the car. and Dodi Al Fayed said, "Step on it. Get us there as quick as you can." So Henry Paul floored it. The paparazzi were trailing them on motorcycles, scooters, I guess you can call them. And there's one picture, I don't know how somebody got it. It shows Henry Paul, Trevor Rees-Jones, a bit of Diana, and a tiny bit of Dodi. It's almost like they were right in front of the car. It's a strange picture. But there's so many pictures taken of them, like, getting ready to leave. But I believe the police confiscated all the photos and whatnot because they tried to blame the paparazzi for her death. I've seen one photo of them trying to help her. See, none of them wore their seatbelts. So, whenever Henry Paul entered the Alma Tunnel, he was going about 90 miles per hour. Where I live, that would be about 130, 140 kilometers an hour, which is very fast. So he hit the 13th pillar, hit the 13th pillar, smashed it, went into the other lane, kind of tumbled, smashed against the wall, and the car was a virtual mess. Henry Paul died instantly. Dodi Al Fayed died instantly. Multiple crazy trauma, just internal bleeding trauma. Trevor Rees-Jones had his face practically ripped off, and some say he was the only one who had a seatbelt on, but he doesn't even remember. But he survived, and he has a book, and he has his story and whatnot. And Diana did not have her seatbelt on, and when the accident happened, she was flipped. So she was down on the floor, facing the trunk of the car. The impact was so great, it took an earring that she was wearing, and it ripped out of her ear, and it was embedded into the dash of the car. So the first people on the scene really were paparazzi. So they're taking pictures. But there's a law in France that says if somebody is in trouble and you're there, you need to render assistance right away. It's a law, I guess. You have to help a person in need. That's just the way it is, I guess. So Diana didn't die right away. Doctors showed up on the scene and they were treating her, internal heart, external heart massage. She was being treated for shock. And then she went into cardiac arrest and her aorta was severed, so basically she was bleeding internally. And they, eventually an ambulance showed up and they took her, and it took 2 hours to get to the hospital because they had to keep stopping because her heart was, in and out of her heartbeat, in and out. So by the time they got to the hospital and tried all efforts to revive her, she was pronounced dead, I believe, at 4 a.m. on August 31st, 1997. I mean, the surgeons had her heart in their hands to massage it to try, bring her back to life. So, basically, the most famous woman in the world at that point, Princess Diana, was killed because of a drunk driver. And it's proof. People say, oh, Henry Paul wasn't drunk. If he wasn't drunk, why was it 3 times the limit of alcohol found in his bloodstream when they took blood samples from his body? People say, oh, they switched it. No. They didn't switch nothing. Henry Paul was drunk. He got behind the wheel of that car. He didn't care how fast he was going. You don't round a turn at 120, 130 kilometers, 90 miles per hour, and turn and go into a tunnel without losing control. It's just not reality, So basically, the most famous woman in the world died because of a drunk driver. So that's my opinion with that night, what happened. So this is different for me, this video. But tell me, you guys, your thoughts about Diana. Diana was an amazing person. She was such a generous person, a loving person. She deserved better, and it's sad the way she died. But I gotta cut this video short. I can't make something longer than 15 minutes. But anyhow, tell me your thoughts about what you think about what happened with Princess Diana. Was she murdered? or was she accidentally, killed? Thanks for watching.